Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special work session for the Ottumwa City Council. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and if everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway. Here. Councilmember Hoffman.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre. Mayor Johnson.
Here. The next item is to approve our agenda tonight for our work session. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, the main reason that we're gonna have a work session tonight is to talk about how the city wants to handle proclamations in the future. And if we'll have a policy that lays out that process and who's gonna do it, who's not gonna do them. So before we get into all that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to our city administrator, Thor, and then he can have a few opening comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to, one of the way this is laid out, the agenda is looking at proclamations on mayor only or city council proclamations. And then secondarily is any process procedures through request and potentially approved proclamations. And I just want to say we have so many good things going on in the city of Ottumwa.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is taking way too much time, energy. We got media here for tonight for something that would normally be a nothing burger, and it's disappointing. It's called a lot of negative attention upon the city. I know employees are embarrassed by this, and I'm assuming residents as well. There's with proclamations, and especially when if you have them approved by a body like this, you're going to have different opinions. You're going to have different viewpoints. And unless it's something that's going to be a 5-0 vote, that kind of contention can cause more damage than good. And unfortunately, I think you risk alienating people in the community. We risk citizens being upset by one side or another of a proclamation. You have potential developments that may look elsewhere because they don't want to deal with the public outcry. Potential grant opportunities or things that we could lose or not gain as a result, because there are going to be people on either side of an issue when you have a political thing like that. So my recommendation would be to remove proclamations from city council meetings altogether, have the mayor do it like so many other communities, and leave it at that level. And I just wanted to mention that.
Could you repeat the last thing you said, please?
I said leave the proclamations out of city council meetings altogether and have them be approved by the mayor. Like many other communities, they have proclamations that are done by a mayor and that's it.
Mayor, can I say a few things too?
Sure.
I would echo what Administrator Rath is saying. I feel like the proclamations over the last few months have been detrimental to our community. We've, as most of you have known or seen, that we're not only making local news, but we're making national news, and it's not for a good reason. I think that we're continuing to use time and resources for things that, in the end, we have more important things to be working on and spending our time and energy on. And when staff continue to come to us and identify that they're wondering why city council is approving this, and we're having people in the community stop and say how the proclamations are affecting not only their daily lives, but their work lives too. Again, when I say detrimental, I think we're at risk of losing future grant opportunities. I think we're at risk of people moving to this community, staying in this community, feeling safe in this community, wanting, like you said, wanting to bring their businesses to this community. And when you have, city council up here approving that, we are ultimately saying that this is the city, supports this. And I just, I would agree. I would think that the mayor should do this and we should take it off of our agenda. That would be my, recommendation also.
Your Honor, may I comment?
Sure.
Item A is confusing me because it says mayor versus city council proclamations. And in my opinion, that should be mayor and city council agree on a proclamation. I don't think you should step out around the council for a proclamation. I think we all have the opportunity and should have the opportunity to agree or disagree on a proclamation. So that is my opinion. Thank you.
Does any other council members want to weigh in on that?
My thinking was that, and again, I want our proclamations to build up our city, to strengthen our city. But I do think that it could be a combination of the administrator, the mayor first, really, the administrator, the council could, behind the scenes, or at some point, I don't know how that works, to be open meeting thing. But, I was hoping that it could be more of an agreement thing amongst the group.
Yeah, I'd say if the city council is going to be part of that process, that would have to happen at a meeting, and then that calls it in. And so like I said, unless it's a 5-0, it could be 4-1, it could be 3-2. You're going to have that opportunity for disagreement amongst anything, and it paints a negative light on that. And even if it's 4-1 or 3-2. When a proclamation is passed at the city council, well, it becomes the voice of the city council. And I have been contacted about a concern with recent proclamations and if that would jeopardize future opportunities. That's where I brought that up. And so I said, my opinion, it'd be best just to leave it out of city council altogether, or not approve proclamations at all.
I think everything we do in the council version has a vote. Could be 3-2, 4-5, 5-1, whatever. But it's the same no matter what we decide. So to exclude proclamations from the council helping to approve or disapprove, I disagree there.
Bill, you and I talked about this, I'm not throwing you a curveball. I can see it both ways. I mean, I can see not having proclamations, although in my heart, that's not what I agree with. I actually agree that we should have proclamations and the council should have some input. So I think the answer is in the criteria that we set out. When we talk about 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, I mean, we talk about for proclamations, if it's 4-1, 3-1, that's what the city says. Well, that's why we are elected up here, is to decide that, people put us here to decide. And I know that there's some tough decisions. The last few weeks, I get what everybody's saying. That's been hard, but we still did get through it, and we the council talked about it. We did come together as a team, even though we had some agree, some disagree, and I think that's the process we probably need to follow. So I think the answer is in the criteria that we lay out. And not only that, talking to Phil, I don't want to take proclamations are something generally the mayor does, and that's one of the things that the mayor, who's the face of the city, does. So I don't want to completely strip the mayor or the mayor's position with that either. I just think, like I said, I'll just stop with, I think the answer is in the criteria that we lay out.
What is the benefit of the city council approving a proclamation? Because right now, all I can see is the detriment that it has done to our community. And you say that we're through it. I don't think we are. I think, as Administrator Rath said, I was also contacted about how by multiple people about how this has affected our community in a negative way. And the fact that there is potential to lose funding and great opportunity.
Right, but it was, I guess one side can see it bad and one side can see it good, I guess. I see that We worked through it and we are working through it and, you know, we're gonna recover. We can't just sit back and think we're not gonna recover, cause we are. I know there was high emotions, and I know there was a lot of feelings, but I don't think taking proclamations totally away is the answer. I think it's just like I said, the criteria we set. So-
Councilperson Bill, though, or Hoffman, I'm sorry, I am not talking about a motion. Yes, there was a motion. I'm talking about actual detriment to our community where the potential to not, be able to get, funding or apply for programs that benefit our community because of proclamations
Right,
that the
and-
council approves.
We keep talking about the same two proclamations. Those proclamations have already happened. They have already happened. The only way we're gonna recover from this is if we just move forward with criteria from here. We can't keep rehashing what happened. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I know, you know, a great number of people on both sides were affected, but we need to move forward from that and decide what we're gonna do and set criteria so that we don't put our citizens in that position again.
Does anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to share about what direction to consider going in?
Oh, just real quick. So at the last meeting, there was a lot of what appeared to be confusion over a proclamation and the event that occurred on Saturday. And I think it got conflated as to say that if we don't approve this proclamation, we're against the event. And the two had nothing to do with each other. The proclamation was presented as words that were issued by the city council to support that event in the end. The event was going to happen regardless if the proclamation was approved or if it was even presented for approval in the first place. And I think rights for a proclamation are different than what's issued or not. And so I think that was some of the concern. There is no right to have the city council issue a proclamation. If that is something that this community wants to do, you certainly can. I'm not sure the history of where they became city council proclamations versus simply mayoral proclamations. But like I said, there are a number of communities that it is a duty of the mayor to issue a proclamation for something, and it never sees a city council meeting.
No, you know what? I think we were kind of saying the same thing, like maybe I'm confused. The mayor can have the proclamations. It's just the city council had input on, like I said, I don't think we should take that away from the mayor, but the public did it on both sides of this plat, did express that they would like more than at least a couple of sets of eyes to see it. So that's the point I'm getting at is, you see what I'm saying? I mean, that I don't want to dictate the mayor, say, hey, you can do this or you can do that. And just that we have the input.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point is the proclamation process has become politicized.
Correct.
And that is the concern. It's become a political hot button, whether it was in June, whether it was recent.
Mental health month.
Mental health, yeah, I mean, we're all, proclamations should be celebration. They shouldn't be a political football that gets tossed around by whichever side is in power at the time.
Exactly, and that's why I talked about the criteria we set forward.
And that's where I'm saying, get them out of city council, out of the political spotlight altogether.
Phil, as the administrator of our city, I don't think you have a vote on this council. And you are airing your thoughts as if you had a vote, and I object.
He's also allowed to give a recommendation too. Of how, because again, he is the administrator of our community and he's has staff that have expressed concern over this in multiple meetings. I've had staff express concern over this, and Phil is here to represent, those, I would say, those staff members who aren't here or who don't have a voice as Phil does.
I think I think our administrator has to have a part in things,
I
after
agree.
he doesn't have a say. A very critical part of our city, our mayor, very critical part of our city. And so we can all work together as a team here, trying to go the right direction.
Correct.
Councilman, we all need to be a team. And that's why I said, I think if we concentrate now on just setting the criteria of what a proclamation is, who can get a proclamation.
But I do think you're gonna have to decide as the council who's gonna issue them. Because that decision is gonna dictate how you write your policy then. So you have to really make the decision up front. Who's gonna issue them? And then the policy that you put together has to mirror that. It's kind of hard to come up with a policy until you've decided, is the mayor gonna do all of them? Is the city council gonna do all of them? Or are we gonna continue to do them like we've done, where the mayor can do some and the city council can do some? You really need to decide that before you finalize your policy, because the policy's gotta reflect what you've decided.
When we just, I mean, this is just an idea that we still have the mayoral proclamations, the mayor does it, and they're just sent to council for review, and then if there's any problem there, then we can just review it, you know what I mean?
What's the point of the mayor doing the proclamation? You're taking power away, and as you said earlier, you don't want to dictate what the mayor does,
But the
that's
people
dictating
will
what the mayor does.
The people express their concern that they want more than one or two people to look at it. So,
So then take the mayor out of it and say city council is going to approve proclamations.
and I think, okay, I think we're going one in, one sort of expecting the other. There's nothing wrong with the mayor issuing proclamations and having a council review. There's nothing wrong with that. If we're just reviewing it, we're all okay, then okay. If there's a problem or a citizen comes to us, then we can talk to the mayor and say, hey, I got this, I got this. Or, somebody said something about this and we can talk about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the policy that we can review or talk about it. That's not taking anything away from anybody.
To my knowledge, up to this point, I don't think anyone other than the mayor has issued a proclamation. So we're not talking about not allowing the mayor to issue the proclamation. We're talking about the council having an opportunity to have input to any proclamation that's set forth.
Normally, the way we've done it up to this point, the way I was instructed when I became mayor, is the mayor can do proclamations independent of the city council. And so I have issued several mayoral proclamations in the last 4 years that don't always go by the city council. Now, if somebody has requested, they want a proclamation by the city council, then it's been brought to the city council. But in the past, I've not ran mayoral proclamations by the council. I've been told I have the latitude to issue those on my own. And so I guess we need to decide that in the
How
future.
would that break down? How many of them, half, have you done, just kind of, okay, this is good, I'm gonna do it?
Probably 75 to 25. I've probably done the bulk of them.
75, and then a quarter of them maybe pass the council.
And normally if somebody said, I'd like a proclamation by the city council, it automatically goes to the
Right.
city council. And that's usually what they'll say. I'd like a proclamation by the city council, or would you be willing to do a proclamation as the mayor? They usually kind of, in the past anyhow, they've kind of indicated that up front.
And so then if you've got something like that, they ask you to do a proclamation, is it possible for you to send out to the council, say, hey, I got this idea of a proclamation, what do you think? Let me know your individual opinions. Is that doable, or is that outside of our,
That'd be a violation of meetings.
Yeah,
even if individually we talk with you, it'd be a violation?
because you're still being asked for your
Welcome
decision.
forum.
So it would have to be a meeting.
Correct.
Fine.
I mean, he could send it out ahead, but the discussion would have to occur at the meeting.
Right.
Anybody have any more thoughts or what direction you want to go in?
I respect everybody's opinion, and like I said, I can see the sides, and this is no dig on anybody, but I kind of stick to the way I said, with the council having some input. I mean, because it was expressed at a meeting that the people kind of wanted some different sets of eyes. And I guess I still don't see anything wrong with that. And most proclamations, there's gonna be no problem. There's gonna be, but going forward, we still will, no matter what we do, we'll run into something that will need to be open for discussion. So although I respect your guys' feelings, I just to be transparent, I just stick to what I said. And I only wanted to bring that up because I know it's gonna be further discussion and you're probably gonna ask for a final decision here. So.
Again, I would identify that it's not feelings, it's just information that has been brought to us that has led to recommendations.
Right, you can take the word feelings out if you want, it doesn't matter, but I've had people come to me wanting the council to review it, so obviously we have two different sets of people coming. And when I said I respected your feelings, scratch that from the record, I meant I respected what you said, I won't use the word feelings.
This is just jumping ahead probably a little bit, but I think any proclamation we ought to have has to be something that uplifts the city and, this has some citywide significance. It uplifts the city, it shows the city in a positive light. It brings things forward. Those are the kinds of proclamations that we, a significant milestone by the city has been achieved. Different, maybe a recognition even of an employee who's served for 30 years or whatever you want to recognize. It needs to be, those are the kinds of things that we have to have, whether it's the mayor doing or the council doing it. Those are the kinds of proclamations that we need to be having, in my opinion.
Well, I think the bottom line, in my opinion, is if the council recommends to the mayor for a proclamation, the mayor should read it. That is his prerogative, that's his job. So I don't see where the argument is here. If the council has an opportunity to have input, and it was decided, however it's decided, that the mayor would give a proclamation or not, then it should come from the mayor.
Well, and you know what, I agree with Councilman Cavanagh. The only tiny little bit I'd flip on that is, I think the mayor should probably have input too on a proclamation. I believe that he should be able to, he or she should be able to review it. Have the same input of, if you've seen something wrong with it or seen something. So that we all had a review, you know what I mean? Just the more sets of eyes, but I agree with like 95% of what he said.
I don't have to allow for people to have any input in a work session. However, I don't want to also look like we're trying to keep people from being able to talk. And we do have one individual here that had indicated they would like to speak briefly on this topic. So she filled out a white form. Was there anybody else that wanted to fill out a white form?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Katie Howard.
Good evening, how are you? I have several thoughts and I'm going to go real fast because you gave me limited time. First of all,
Give your name and your address, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Katie Howard, 1111 Hamilton Street. I think you have that memorized. At any rate, the reasons for a proclamation, in my experience, are for appreciation, recognition, celebration, milestones that was mentioned, acknowledgement, thanks, and welcome. Those are the. Okay, did you hear any of them? Okay, good. So with that in mind, okay, I really regret the direction that I'm hearing tonight about not approving proclamations. I've sat in these meetings many times, watching high school students get proclamations, watching mental health, watching all these people get proclamations, and I've celebrated that. I think that is wonderful. I think this issue, which I kind of think is not an issue, all started in June and the reaction to that. So the reason for the recent publicity is not because of the marriage proclamation. It is because the city council refused to put the traditional marriage proclamation on the agenda. And that's why there was so much backlash from one side, okay? Any county council vote is subject to disagreement. Keith brought up that there will be different votes on different items, and that's always true. You are a political body, that's always going to be the case. And in some cases, people are gonna be unhappy. That's just reality. The next thing is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to hurry. The mayor is elected for several years. He is not subordinate to the council. And I'm concerned about the mayor approving all proclamations. I do think it's a city function. That's just my opinion. I want you to think about this. A proclamation is the only way that the public has to directly request input to your agenda, okay? They don't control setting the agenda. They don't get items on the agenda because they want, except for proclamations. So if you were to set a policy outlining those goals for a proclamation, whatever you come up with, I gave you a list earlier, and also make it very clear in your policy that this does not mean that it is blessed by the city, or that it is a city. It doesn't have the effect of a city ordinance. It is just a proclamation to acknowledge, to recognize, and celebrate. So those are my thoughts. Real quickly. Oh, I think this has been dealt with already, but having the mayor do all the proclamations is ducking the issue, and it also, because the mayor is a standalone public officer, it doesn't allow the council a chance to weigh in. So those, I think, were my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cole?
So take this as sage advice from somebody who's been around the block a few times, okay? Where's,
Your name and address, please.
Cole O'Donnell, lot 9 of the, campground.
For the summer.
For the summer, yes. So first of all, this is the only council that I've ever been associated with that actually approved proclamations.
Can you talk into your microphone, please?
Usually people can hear me. But, so this is the only council that I've ever been associated with that the council voted on a proclamation. Usually it's the mayor, draws up the proclamation. Now, they may present it at a council meeting so that the people can come, they can be recognized on TV and everything else. But the council, I've never been associated with a council that actually voted on a proclamation. Okay. So now I'm going to point out a few things in comments that I've heard from Councilmember Hoffman, Councilmember Reed, and Councilmember Cavins, in that Councilmember Hoffman talked about that there's going to be most of them are going to be proclamations are going to be nonchalant, not controversial, but there might be some that are. And Councilmember Reed said that a proclamation be something that's uplifting for the city. And Councilmember Cavan has said that there may be dissenting votes. The problem is that you want to set a criteria. That criteria needs to be very inclusive or very exclusive, because otherwise you're going to run into those controversial moments, right? Any vote that is not 5-0 is not uplifting to the city, right? That means there's dissent. That means that somebody's against that very proclamation, okay? So I'm not here to provide any solutions. I'm just pointing out those things that I saw having been around the block a few times, right? A 4-1 vote, proclamation is not uplifting, and you're either going to need to be very exclusive or very inclusive Because at some point, there is going to be those controversial proclamations, and this is gonna happen all over again.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that would like to speak?
Paper?
Right, Ben Foote, 303 East Main Street. So, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I know you didn't need to let us do that, but this is good. This is good. As I've been thinking about proclamations and sitting back and watching the things happen over the last couple months, 3 months or so, although proclamations are not binding, they're just commemorative in nature, but they also state an identity of our city. So there is an importance to them. And I think we're hearing that here tonight, just in the discussion. If there was an importance, it'd be easy to let's just not do it. So there is some importance to that. And I think it's because it does place an identity on our city. Whenever a proclamation is said, that identifies City of Ottumwa is acknowledging this and whatever it is. So I think that makes it extremely important. So I think, Councilmember Hoffman, you had the idea that the criteria that we look at that and how we identify the proclamation and how it's going to set with the city is extremely important. We've seen the result of that already. And we've also seen that the citizens of Ottumwa want to have some input in the proclamations that are being said. That's because they want the identity of their city to be the way that they see their city as. And so with that, and I went through there was a proclamation procedure in the packet, and I was going through that to kind of see what might be used or what is being proposed. There's some things in there that had some concern with me, and I think some of that's been addressed. I know I had it down as item 2.1, where the initial review was done by a city clerk and city administrator. I think the proclamations need to be done by those that are elected officials. And the elected officials need to be the first ones to touch it and to review it. Just because it is part of the identity of the city. And so I would omit that section altogether from what was proposed there. And then other items were having a procedure of review, I think is extremely important. I think that's really the bulk of what we're talking about tonight is what that looks like. I've been back and forth with the idea of proclamations needing to have open input from the citizens. One side of me says, yeah, I think that's great. The other side of me is like, yeah, what are you opening up? So yeah, I think that needs to be weighed carefully. But I think the criteria of what writes a proclamation can help alleviate a lot of that. I do like the idea that the final proclamation is presented to the city council by the mayor, because then the mayor is spearheading the proclamation and he's bringing it to the city council so that they can provide their input from their constituents, so that the people that have put them in office also have that voice through the city council members. And then I like the idea of having a proclamation, if it is approved by a vote, that it is approved by a vote of its own, not grouped together in a consent agenda to where it forces you to go one way because of something else that is there that you may agree with one, disagree with the other, and now you got to lump it together and kind of weigh your options. If we're going to bring citizens, we're going to bring opinion and ideas of the citizens of Ottumwa in. I think we need to have, and we're voting on it. I think it needs to be voted as its own thing. I know that costs more time, but I just think that that's honoring the citizens that are giving their opinions to it. And then I also think that throughout the entire process, there needs to be an opportunity to where the mayor and or the people that are asking for the proclamation can retract the proclamation at any time. So if it's being edited for any reason and the people bringing it forth say, yeah, this isn't quite what we were wanting, they can just pull it. Same with the mayor. And if the mayor has the ability then to say, yeah, this doesn't meet what we are as a city, not going to do it. And it can just end the process right there. So those are a couple of my ideas. I did look into, you had one example from Cedar Falls and what their procedure is. It's very simple. And then I looked at state of Iowa, and state of Iowa is also extremely simple. I think that's the key, is if you start getting into a lot of individual criteria, you run the risk of wanting an objective result, but by doing it through subjective policy, and you can't do that. And I think there were several items listed in the criteria that were subjective, and you're not going to have an objective result by doing that. So yeah, that's a couple of my thoughts. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing up the last point, especially about the retraction. I know the mayor took a lot of heat over the last couple of meetings with the proclamation, and from my seat, I'd say it was really unjustly. Part of the issue with the proclamation and it not being on the agenda was there was a redraft of that and a request to say if the group wanted to have a proclamation for traditional marriage, these were the words that would be part of that proclamation. The group did not like those words, or the individual presenting didn't like the words and didn't want to have those words be on the proclamation. That's why it wasn't on the first meeting. And then the words that were presented, his words, not the council's words, was what was presented. Now, it became the council's words when they approved it 4-1. And that's where some of the concern or issue was. So it was in the process initially, not having a proclamation representing or celebrating traditional marriage.
Again, I respect everybody, but I still think we need to utilize actually their time to move forward from that and set what we're gonna do now and not talk about the past. It's the past that's past. And I see why you're using that as an example. I'm not digging on you. It's just, I think we just need to move forward and set what we're gonna set so everybody knows the rules, or everybody knows what's going on.
So do you think we can gain consensus this evening on what direction the council wants to go in? I mean, we're not gonna actually vote because you can't vote and take action at a work session, but it'd be nice to know what the general consensus is of the city council. So there could be an appropriate policy drafted based on what direction you wanna go with. Can we get there tonight? Do you think that's something that can be agreed upon by consensus?
I mean, it sounds like we're gonna have city council, if we were to vote tonight, it sounds like city council will be part of that. So obviously, I'm not gonna hold up and say there's not gonna be a consensus, because we do need to have, if that's the way we're gonna go, then let's have a policy. I would agree with Mr. Foote and that the policy needs to be simple, but I also understand what, Cole is saying also, that we either need to be exclusive or inclusive or exclusive. I mean, we could just be very basic like Cedar Falls and say that we only do things, like a certain way, like, so I mean, it sounds like we're heading towards city council being part of that, so I'm not gonna sit back and say, nope, I'm just sitting here and I'm gonna put my foot down and be bullheaded. I mean, I know I can be bullheaded, but I'm not gonna do that tonight, so. So yes, I guess we can have consensus of, but I need to know which way you three are leaning to have that consensus, and I'm sorry, I have laryngitis, so I will try my hardest to talk into this for you all. So if you can't hear me, just put your hand up, so.
Yeah, I think Councilman Galloway brings up a good point. I think you need to try and reach a consensus on, is all proclamations gonna be run by the city council or just the ones that the person requests city council endorsement? That the mayor can still do some independent, like what we've been doing? Are you wanting all proclamations to go through the city council?
Well, one thing I would like to add, and I know I'm kind of going off a little bit, and Ben, I loved everything he said earlier. I did love everything he said, but when it goes through Chris, I believe, Chris, you review just for legal, correct? So maybe that's a part we need to keep. She just reviews to make sure it's legal but I love that everything else you said.
And a lot of the people send them to me first as the clerk because they're ones we do every single year. So there's usually not any changes to them and they fall within legal restrictions. So that's why they usually come to me
Right,
first.
right. So I guess, I mean, if you're looking for consensus, just kind of what I said already, I believe that the public does want some input from the council, from the elected officials. Now, that doesn't mean strip the city administrator out of it, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they want input from the people they elected. And, you know, Bill is another filter who reviews it for legality and reviews it for continuity and, you know, maybe there's problems going on behind the scene that he tries to head off before it gets to us and, you know, so that's how I feel. So I don't know how the rest of you, I mean, I kind of do, but that's how I feel.
I think, the council should be aware of any recommendation for a proclamation. But I also agree with some of the people that we shouldn't have an up and down vote. It's either gonna be read as a proclamation by the mayor, or it's not. I don't believe a 3-2 vote is a good idea, or 4-1.
How do you do that? Like, I mean, if we're gonna vote, then we have to vote it up or down. I mean, we can't sit here and say, do we have consensus on this proclamation? I don't see how that, I don't see how that works. So I think it is an up or down vote. Or it's, again, I go back to the mayor issues the proclamations. I
Right.
think it's an up or down vote,
Like I said, I mean, there'll probably be a lot of bylaws, but there could come to an occasion, you all right?
Yeah.
You were rubbing your throat. There could be sometimes when it's 4-1 or 3-2.
The only way,
But then that's-
council can have a part is to vote evidently.
Right, and then, you know, I think the public wants their elected officials to vote on it, so if it's a 4-1 or 3-2, I mean, then,
we are.
What about if the mayor asks after it's been presented?
It's a walking quorum. Sorry, I apologize, I interrupted, I apologize.
If anyone on the council would disagree with it. That way we don't have to have a 4 or 5 vote. Somebody could just say, well, it's not my right idea, or it's not something that I would like to see a proclamation on. But that doesn't mean I'd stop it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't vote for it, because without a vote, you don't need it. It's just a matter of opinion.
well, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think if we're gonna set the system where we have input, I just believe it has to be a vote, otherwise we're kind of back into the same trouble we just were, you know what I mean, like, then, and I see what you're saying, because I know everybody sitting up here has had an opinion and voted maybe a little bit different way, because they thought maybe that was what was the best. But if we go to a little bit stricter system like that, I just think it has to be a vote, or it could get confusing. It would be, you know, I think it would, and I want to choose my words carefully here, I think it would be okay if it's 4-1 or 3-2. I mean, because we are all elected not to have the same opinion. We're all elected to balance it. And that doesn't make anybody's belief more important than the other. It just means the people who voted us in for a reason to balance and have a say, so. And I don't mean that to insult anybody up here.
So what are you recommending, Councilman?
Just the way that Dan and I kind of laid it out, and even, Councilman Reed and Councilman Galloway kind of laid out, is we just vote on it.
Okay,
That we just have some input on it, and
I'm good for that.
So, is it going to change? If you have a proclamation, if you have a proclamation presented to you and it goes through the whole vetted process, goes through multiple hands,
Mhm.
it comes to council. Someone's here to receive that proclamation and you guys vote it down. That's not gonna look real great. I mean, if we're trying, you know, I don't think in the Cedar Falls one here that I gave you as a reference, I don't think they vote on them. They're just done. by council. It's presented at a council meeting. So again, it's kind of to what Cole mentioned. You know, are we wanting these set up as an item we vote on? Cause it's really not a votable item in my eyes, just from the parliamentary side of things.
So
It's a statement, it's not a vote. Just my 2 cents.
I guess this is what I'm hearing, and I'm just gonna kind of summarize everything up. So what I'm hearing is that, yes, I think there is a consensus, or there's, enough people in the council that want it to be a separate section on the agenda, where there will be a review, where, again, I think Councilperson Hoffman identified that the proclamations would be sent to you for a review of that legality to make sure. And then again, they'd go to the mayor, who would then review, ensure they meet the criteria, or review, and then ask them to be put on the agenda, correct?
Sounds good.
Okay. So then, go back to this one. So the purpose and requirements would be a proclamation by the city may be requested, and I'm going off of this, may be requested to commemorate a special event, anniversary, or other significant dates. Proclamations can be requested by residents of the city of Ottumwa, organizations with direct access to Ottumwa, city of Ottumwa council members or employees, but proclamations should have a demonstrated tie to Ottumwa, which may include significant accomplishments by residents, noteworthy historical anniversaries, year of, declarations or other special commemorations of days, weeks, or months by Ottumwa residents and organizations. That one we may need to change a little bit. And the mayor or council reserves the right to deny, or I guess it would just be the council reserves the right to deny. Or I guess it would be voted on.
Yeah, it should be voted on, but that's the only tiny little place I gotta hang up on. I don't wanna strip the mayor from an opinion that he has to read, or he or she has to read.
Right.
So I believe that the mayor should have be able to have an opinion on.
I guess the one thing that I'm still unclear on, just because of what our current practice is, I agree with Councilwoman Galloway. It seems real clear that the majority of the council wants city council approved proclamations to go through them and be voted on. I get that. But are you still wanting to allow the mayor to have some latitude to issue mayoral proclamations without the council, without their involvement? Because that's what the current practice is now. Or do you want every proclamation to be read through the council in the future? I just need some clarification on that.
I don't have any opinion other than that I certainly wouldn't object if you chose to read a proclamation without passing it through the council. On the other hand, we're talking about the council having an opportunity to accept it or not accept it, so it's kind of a conundrum there. I don't know where we're going.
Well, like I said, the current policy, or the current practice, because we haven't had a policy, the current practice has been, if people want a proclamation approved by the city council, they've always went through the city council. Sometimes people just ask for a mayoral proclamation, and I've issued those, and those haven't been they haven't been on the agenda, they haven't asked, you guys haven't been asked to vote on them. I just want some direction.
I'm okay with that, Your Honor.
I would say, isn't that contradictory to the conversation that's occurred tonight?
Yeah, we're getting two different systems set up. I see what he's saying, but I mean,
Yeah, I see it too.
I just want to make sure we
That
know
makes
what
sense.
direction you want to go in, because
I just think we need to stick to one system or another. I still think what I said, that the council shall, I just believe that the people,
Talk into the
the
mic,
people,
please.
I just believe that people want their elected officials to have input. And I honestly don't believe that shows disrespect to anybody, and that doesn't mean that the mayor, whoever's in the mayor position, could bring those proclamations forward. One concern I do have is I think Councilperson Galvin brought it up is if they are, no, Chris, if they are at the meeting and then we vote it down, there has to be something in place for that, because we don't want somebody embarrassed, or we don't want somebody,
I think you just tell them that, hey, it's a vote, we don't know how it's gonna go.
and honestly, I mean, we can predict how 95% of votes will go, but there's that 5% where we take the chance on hurting someone.
Or a group, or some, or a group, or
You can put that, I mean, again, in the policy that it says, the council reserves the right to deny or vote up or vote down any proclamation request. So it's right there in writing, so people see that.
Right, and this is just a question I'm throwing out there for, I guess Phil, speak for you. What if a group came with a proclamation, and they wanted a consensus, and they just used their right to speak to each one of us individually, like, hey, do you believe in this, or hey, is that, you see what I'm saying? Like, what if a group just said, hey, I want to talk to 3 or 4 members of the council, and they just contact us individually and say, hey, is this something you could support or help with? That's not ignoring, that's not because we're not directly communicating.
Well, it could potentially be a walking forum if said group says, oh, hey, I just talked to council member X and they said they could support this, how about you? And they start passing information that way. Now, if they're coming up to 3 individually, not tying any ends together, not necessarily, but there is a chance or a possibility it could happen.
All right, like I said, everybody's been patient with me talking, so I don't waste anybody's time. I just stick to what I said. I think the public wants its elected officials to have input. And I know there's some little details that would need ironed out.
Well, Councilman Hoffman, I would say this, if somebody asks you if you would agree to something in that format, all you can say is, I can't say that. I can't confirm it or deny it.
I know, that's one of the little details we have to work out, but I would hate not to speak to a citizen too, you know what I mean? I would hate not to share, because I always promise to be transparent. I try really hard, even when I'm gonna look stupid, to be transparent. So it's really hard for me not to, you know what I mean, share what I would be feeling.
I understand, you just don't have to tell us that you said that.
Right.
So going back to this, so again, kind of back to the idea of what proclamation should have. So again, a tie to Ottumwa, significant accomplishments by residents, noteworthy historical anniversaries, like, for example, like the school celebrated 100 years. That was a huge event. That's great. Year of declarations or other special commemorations of days, weeks, months by the Ottumwa residents and organizations. That's the line I think that may, again, tie back to Ottumwa. We would have to make sure it ties back to Ottumwa. Again, then the council reserves the right to deny, I guess we could say vote up or vote down any proclamation request. Are we taking the mayor out of this? Does the mayor have the right to deny a request, or is it just the city council? And I would say from the conversation tonight, it's just the city council, okay? So how to submit a request? Again, I would say that they continue to be emailed to Chris as our first point of contact. I would say 30 days. This talks about 30 days prior. That gives us enough time, okay? And then it says, information required in the email for official city proclamation requests are the name, so the title, organization affiliation as appropriate. This says the mailing address and email address, date of need for signed proclamation. This one says desired presentation venue, so is that gonna be at city council meetings? Do they want the mayor to come to the event? And then the draft proclamation. So this says that you can have 3 to 6 whereas clauses and a therefore clause, which I think limiting that is appropriate too. And then the city reserves the right to edit proclamations for clarity. And will normally consult with the submitter regarding any, substantive changes, which I think goes back to Mr. Sorry.
I couldn't hear that, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. And I talk really fast too, so maybe.
Let me read the rest.
It said the city reserves the right to edit proclamations for clarity and, I don't know what this word, brevity, I don't know what that means. Thank you. And will normally consult with the submitter regarding any substantive changes, which goes back to Mr. Foot's point. That's what I would recommend.
Do we have it in writing any place?
Yeah, it's right here. Here.
No. What you actually read?
Yeah,
the
the changes.
recommendation, you're going right off the sheet?
Yep, I made
Okay.
the appropriate changes and I'll give them to Chris.
All right.
Basically, it's the Cedar Falls.
Right.
One there.
That's the Cedar Falls.
Yep, I just changed things.
I do think that our characteristics of a proclamation ought to be fairly tight. We were talking about either loose or tight. You know, it's gotta be citywide significance. I'm sure we all agree with that. Honorary recognition for outstanding service in Ottumwa or something, you know, honoring a citizen for outstanding service. Celebration of a city milestone or historic anniversary specific to Ottumwa. Another thing I wrote down was raise awareness of the city initiative. I'm sure it came all over the papers there.
Like the city,
But like-
Trio Cities.
Yeah, that or we're making Ottumwa shine or something to try to get people involved with it. But again, that's off the track, just a little bit of what we're referring, but just the idea of making things specific and then it has to be something that promotes Ottumwa in a positive way. It shows unity and success in Ottumwa. And, I believe it should be generally a non-controversial subject. If it's controversial, it's gonna cause issues. Well,
That's the only place we differ a little bit, because I think the reason that it comes to the council in case it could get that way, you know what I mean? I think that's why the council did, but I think we agree actually is, of course, there's gonna be some controversial things where Chris will cut it off its past and be like, no, you know what I mean? I mean, depending on
It's
what it
putting a lot
is.
of pressure on Chris, and I think she's gonna do that.
I think it keeps staff out of it altogether. If it's coming to the council, it's coming to the council.
So you don't want, but it would still get emailed.
No, yeah,
Okay.
but she
just
would
passes
send
on.
it on.
She puts it on the agenda. I would agree. I agree. Don't put, yeah, I don't think we should put our staff in that position.
No, I agree, that's fine.
Have we come to an agreement? Anybody
we have.
object to what's been said?
Look, I think we have a good,
Do you have enough notes that you can redraft?
Yes. I mean, it's basically following this.
Well, and there's some other things that we're gonna get into it. So you got it. So if that's the consensus of the council, then the city clerk can rewrite what's been discussed tonight and it can be put on the next city council agenda and you can vote it up or
I
down.
don't think I'll have it ready by one for next Tuesday.
I would say.
But the next, no, you don't have as much time as you, I guess.
We'll cut you some slack, you can go.
The second council meeting in September.
Are we out of town in a second? No.
Nothing meeting.
Oh, no.
Was everybody in agreement with that?
I'm good for it.
Great. So,
Dan, did you have something you want to say?
no.
Okay. Okay, there's no other discussion. I would entertain a motion to adjourn our city work session.
motion adjourned.
Second.
Thank you.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for attending our work session tonight. And safe travel to home.